Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today we have actress, director, writer. I mean, you've pretty much run the gamut. We got Bryn, Dami. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Uh, so before we get into the meat and potatoes of like what you do in the industry and stuff like that, kind of take us back a little bit to your younger years and what kind of made you want to pave this path for yourself.
Well, I was introduced to the horror genre when I was about 3 or 4 years old because of my parents, mainly my dad. My mom loves horror films, but my dad and I really, really love our horror films. And that's where I grew to love the horror genre and just cinema in general. Um, my first genre will always be horror, but I do have appreciation and love different parts of cinema. So that's pretty much around the time that I really fell in love with it. 3, 4 years old. And I know that's really young. So a lot of people are like, I don't know. And it's like, that's where I can really feel like I can look back and be like, yeah, that's where I knew I wanted to do this eventually, be involved in it in some capacity.
Oh yeah. What was your first horror movie that you can remember?
Uh, I always get reminded, and the one that always sticks out the most is Halloween 4 with Danielle Harris. And I feel like that was definitely an easier film for me to dive into at such a young age because at the time Danielle was such a young girl in the film. So as a little girl, I was able to watch it without like a bunch of fear because I saw a younger child in the film. And then A Nightmare on Elm Street was definitely going to be another one because my uncle always likes to say anytime I came over when they had to babysit me, it was, oh, you wanted to watch Freddy Krueger and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I don't remember all those little details because, of course, I was still a little toddler, but it's always cool to hear those stories from family.
Oh yeah. So kind of take us as, a little bit further up the path of, like as you were getting older and you kind of, it was concreted that you wanted to be in the film industry in some, some capacity. What really drove you? Because I think you wrote your first like script in high school.
Correct.
Uh,
Yes.
I do a little bit of research.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, so Never Return, my feature that I'm gearing up to film. Hopefully this year we're working on the rest of our funding. I actually wrote that when I was in high school as a one act play. So I had to write, direct, work with the lighting and the sound people and everything to set up the scenery on stage. And I knew one day that I wanted to make this a feature, and it was originally called TikTok. And then now here we are with Never Return. And I think I've been thinking back to those days a lot recently as we like grow closer to a lot of different things. And I'm still learning a lot, which I love about working in this industry is you're always learning. So there's some similarities between theater and film. So like seeing those differences, seeing those the similarities, it's such a cool experience. So I'm super stoked and excited.
Uh, so taking it from a play to pretty much where you're going with it now, was that a other than the financial part, was that a smooth process or was it kind of there were definitely bumps in the road?
I would say honestly overall besides the financing part it's been very smooth sailing. I mean, I've said this a lot and it's just simply because it's true. I have such an amazing team and cast that are a part of this project that believe in me, that believe in the work, that are ready to be on set with me. And I feel like having that just at the core is so important, but also such a blessing because it keeps me very motivated um, with this whole process. Because when we started this process, it was right before the strikes happened. So we had to halt on a lot of stuff because we do have a couple SAG actors that are involved in this project. And, we wanted to stand in solidarity with, the actors and the writers. And so that was partly our setback. And then it's just been the funding. Everything else has been very um straightforward, easy. Anytime I've had questions for my SAG rep or from people for Indiegogo, it's been very easy. Everyone's been great. So I've just been very fortunate in that sense for sure.
Oh yeah. So for Never Return, kind of, if you can, without spoiling anything, give us kind of a little bit of a synopsis.
Yeah. So Never Return is about Jackson Todd and his sisters Carter and Zoe. They take their group of friends to their summer home for a little weekend getaway before they graduate high school. And Carter and Zoe unfortunately go missing. And we hop to 4 years later when the group is more grown. They're really entering their adulthood and still figuring out life. And they're all in different stages of their life, which I think is going to be very interesting for the audience to see. Um, and so they're getting back together for another weekend to not only honor Carter and Zoe, but create more memories and just really enjoy each other's time. There's going to be some drama and there's love and there's just a bunch of different things happening within their friendships. But little do they know they have two sinister forces hunting them down and they have to fight or die trying.
All right. So it's fight or flight. I like that.
Yes.
So with horror being your genre and kind of like wanting to really put yourself out there and coming up with your own stories, coming up with your own characters, do you ever find that sometimes it's a little bit harder to kind of control everything in in one space, or do you just let it flow kind of how it goes?
Do you mean like as far as like directing the actors and like
Yeah.
specific scenes? Yeah. So I had the opportunity to get most of the cast together for our teaser trailer, which is out, and that was such a great experience. None of the like some of them knew each other on different levels and some of them have never met each other, so I was curious as to how the chemistry was going to flow with everybody, and I had a good feeling. I didn't have any worries, but I was intrigued to still see it and it made me wonder. So once we got on that teaser trailer set, I was like, oh my gosh, like everybody in the cast really meshed well together, and they seemed like they've known each other for years. And so I was just so mind blown, and I still am, because of that experience. We didn't have chemistry reads, we didn't have callbacks. So it was very much, I was blessed to be able to see it, but also just like sit back and just be like, oh my gosh, like they already know their characters, they're all ready to go. And so I was like, wow, it felt good, even though I'm the director and my job is to direct them. There were so many moments where I felt like I could just sit back and let them do their job. And that's why you hire actors. You trust them to play that character. Um, and so I've been, again, I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, have been very blessed in a lot of ways, because of them. They know their character and they know what they're doing, and that's why I just cannot wait to get on set with them, because I know this film can go places, not just because I wrote this, but because of who the crew is, of who the cast is, and I want their faces and their names in the end credits to be seen.
All right. All right. So let's go to some of the work you've done on other people's films. Because you got, I mean, I'm a zombie fan. The first thing I see is Zombie Club. You play, student, but kind of like, what was that about?
So the Zombie Club, that was my first ever feature. And I had just turned 18. So I started in theater and worked my way into the filming industry. And again, like I said, that was my first feature. Um, I went down to West Virginia for a week and we filmed from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. It was very exhausting, I can't lie, but having that first experience was really nice to be on a full featured set. And the crew that I got to work with was great. And it was a very small crew. It was me, The DP, Aaron Moore, I love that guy. I've worked with him a couple more times. He's great. And then we had Dixon, and I can't remember the other guy's name. I haven't heard from him in forever. But it was the four of us. And it was just like our little unit. And so I was pretty much production assistant, but also working in front of the camera, and then also like helping run lights, and like we were just all running a little bit of everywhere. But it was a great experience in that sense of I really got to see what independent film was like. And that's why that was one of the reasons I fell in love with independent. You got to keep the creative control. You got to stick around your friends and have a good time. And I made great relationships with a good amount of people from that set. And yeah, I mean, independence always, digging your boots in the mud and everybody's running everywhere and you're also having a good time. So it can be overwhelming, but being able to do what you want with your own work and work with great people and building your film family is really nice. I liked the aspect of that for me. Yeah.
So kind of take us you said your mom and dad were definitely into horror and your uncle and stuff like that. So when you told them, "Hey, this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it," what was their initial reaction?
I mean, even earlier today, like a couple hours ago, actually, my dad came home from work, and he and my dad were chit chat, or my mom and dad were chit chatting, and he came into the living room, and he was just like, I just can't wait to see you on set, because he and my mom are actually going to be helping out on set a little bit, which is going to be great. They helped on the teaser, and everybody loved them, and so that was awesome. And I just they're very supportive and very proud of me, which always makes me be like, oh my gosh, stop it. But having that kind of support, I am very lucky and fortunate for sure. First and more, I can't speak English, goodness gracious. Um, first of all, and to know that they not only want to be there on set to help create this with me, that they also support me. And I have plenty of my family and friends that are right behind me as well. It makes the bumps in the road and the certain days of frustration so worth it to me. Because if this film was going to be made easily, it would have been done by now. And nothing's easy and nothing's perfect. And you have to fight for what you're passionate about. You have to fight for your work. You have to fight for yourself besides fighting for your people. That those come hand in hand. So I've been, again, very fortunate in that sense to have my parents right behind me doing whatever they can to support this project and share it with everybody.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome because I mean, you see in especially Hollywood, you see it where some families don't want to be in that limelight, but they still support their family member. But it's like, I mean, the fact that on independent film and especially independent film, it's like everyone wants to succeed and everyone wants everyone else to succeed.
Right.
So that's phenomenal. And I don't know if you've seen any of the previous episode interviews I've done, but I've been saying like independent scene since they started lifting all the COVID restrictions has taken off.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think like it's became the A+ player, and Hollywood's become the B+ player.
In a lot of ways, it has begun to, and I mean, there's not a lot happening in Hollywood right now. A lot of productions are moving out of LA and going elsewhere, or they're going independent because, again, like the one of the huge reasons, again, that I love being an independent filmmaker is, especially if it's my work, I get to keep that creative control. I get to make the decisions at the end of the day, not somebody else who's handing me the money. I understand in certain senses why studios are like, okay, here's the money, but here's what we want, because they're giving it to you. They're giving you the funding for that project. but I also feel like there should be a happy medium there too, to where you're still letting the person that created that piece of art, that piece of work, give them their creative control too. Like, don't completely take it away, because then it's like they took the time and the passion and everything that they put into that script, and now it's like, oh, now we're over here, and it's like, whoa, 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 that's not what I wrote, that's not what I thought, that's not what I saw in my own head. um it can be frustrating, and I've said even on other podcasts too, like, I love Hollywood in certain ways, and then there's others that I hope change in a lot of ways, because a lot of it can be very unfair and not okay, with pertaining to treatment and respect towards anybody. So I agree.
Oh yeah. All right, so let's talk about another film you were in, where again you played another student. The It says Nun Nancy.
Yes.
Well, kind of walk us through your experience on that one and what that film was a little bit about, without giving spoilers.
Yeah. So that film, I was only on set for a day for that one. So I didn't really get too much about the film and about the script itself. But it was with the same production company as the Zombie Club, um, just a different uh, DP and like crew. So I didn't work with Aaron on that one, but I got to see a lot of familiar faces on that film as well. And it was a nice little, again, experience just to meet back up with friends that I've made. And also, again, just to be able to work on a set is a blessing and an opportunity, especially because that's what I love. And I feel like any set has become my happy place in my home. And I feel like that's how a lot of actors feel. We love being on set and we love working. So, and with everything, going on, and we all hope that work starts picking up again very soon, because is there work? Yes, but is there a lot? Not really. So we're all just fighting tooth and nail to get back to where our happy place is.
Oh yeah. So before we go to the next film, you also have, I don't know if you're still doing it, but you have your own podcast.
Yes, I do. The Bag Collection podcast. That actually returns on April 1st. No April Fool's joke there. Um, it's a very short episode. The comeback. It's about a 10-minute episode. It's just a little update on Never Return stuff, and I'm also helping promote a little independent short film called Screamboat. Kaylee Hyman, who is also on Never Return, and she was in Terrifier 2 and 3. She played Brooke. Um, she's become a great friend of mine. I adore her. She's super talented, but she's super sweet and hardworking. And I always root for her because she's just incredible. And Stephen Lamort and Amy Schumacher. Stephen Lamort wrote and directed. Amy Schumacher is his wife. She was also in the film. You have Allison Piddle, Jesse Posey. I might be missing a couple other names, but that will come out on April 2nd in theaters. And I had the opportunity to see a pre-screening fan screening at Days of Dead Atlanta with some of the cast and crew. And they're all such wonderful people. I had a great weekend, like chit-chatting and hanging out with them. We all had a great time. And it's very funny, very hilarious. I highly recommend going to see it if you can. And one thing that they also made me realize that I had no idea about is when you put an independent film in theaters, if you have the opportunity to do so, to get an extension, you have to have 70% of all of your theaters sold out, basically. So not completely sold out, but at least 70%. If you can get them all sold out, that's like a miracle, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And I wish that for them, because it is worth seeing in theaters. Um, that number to me is crazy, because independent is fighting against the studio budget films that get those extensive time periods in the theaters because they have the money to do it. And then you have independent filmmakers that are, again, digging their boots in the mud, and it's all full of passion and love and fun and hard work. And just to even have the opportunity to get it in the theaters is like, oh my gosh, thank you. And but it's still to keep it in for an extended period of time is a hard thing to do. But it's not impossible. So that's why I always say supporting independent film, especially now, is so, so important. Because there's so many creative minds like myself, like Kaylee, like Steven, we all have ideas and stories that we want to tell and share. And I feel that they deserve a chance and should be seen just as much as a studio budget film.
Oh yeah, I actually agree with you 100%. Some of my favorite films for the last 2 years have been straight independent films. Yeah, like I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't want. You ever see Raccoon?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Definitely check that one out.
Okay.
That's all I'm
Is
gonna
it
say.
is it a goofy one?
Oh yeah, definitely worth it though. Definitely worth it. You know, so let's kind of go a little bit more into detail about, the writing and the directing aspect of what you do because, I've talked to other people and some will say, like the directing's harder, the writing's harder, the acting's harder. Is there anything that you find out of everything you do is maybe just a tad bit harder than something else?
Directing is I feel directing is pretty simplistic for me. I love directing so much. I personally love to give the actor a little more leeway to perform. Um, with whether it's like them by themselves or with scene partners. Because again, like I mentioned before, that's why you hire the actor. You trust them to do their job and play the character that you hired them to play. Um, and instead of constantly cutting because they missed a word or because you feel they're not doing it properly, let them surprise you. I feel like that's super important because you might see it one way, but then they do it the other, and you're like, oh, I really like that. We're going to keep that take and move on. Um, Writing is it's a back and forth for me. There's times where I can sit down and write, and then I try to come back to it and nothing happens. And I feel like the best approach for me with writing is to just write. I'll come back to it. I'll read through it again, make sure I'm really feeling what I'm writing. And then if not, I change it and then I keep adding and I keep adding and I keep going back and keep going back. Uh, because I hate for me personally to say, oh, I have writer's block. Oh, I can't write this. Oh, I can't write. It's for me personally, I feel like it's an excuse to not get the writing done. So I always make sure that I'm pushing that word phrase aside and doing what I can in that moment and then taking that breath, breathing, taking my moment to just decompose, relax, whatever I need to do before I continue writing whatever I'm writing at that time. Um, Acting, I want to keep taking classes, but of course, gotta save money in certain senses. I know I need new headshots myself and everything. So I have a private coach. She's wonderful. Her name's Pamela Kramer. Love her. She's been super supportive. I want to get back to working with her, looking into more classes in general, because you should always keep training no matter what. And that's why, again, a repeat, like I say all the time, is you always keep learning in this industry. So you should always keep digging into your craft as an actor. I think that's what, keeps the machine moving and you learn more things about yourself too, especially when you have a coach and or teacher that is willing and wanting to take that time and really get you to places. And I've been fortunate in a lot of those ways, especially when I was in college. So I wouldn't say I don't like saying on the negative side that anything's harder than the other, but I feel like if I had to rephrase it, I would be more of I just love directing the most. Um, Acting and writing fall right behind. I feel like it just changes, but directing is, I feel like, has always been my love for sure.
Oh yeah. All right, let's talk about your character, Lily in Macabre Mountain.
That
Now
was a
that
fun one.
that I mean, there is, I mean, all right. So I've talked to a couple other people who've been involved with that film.
Mhm.
Uh, what was your experience in kind of like take us through the synopsis a little bit through your eyes?
Uh, so on that film, not only did I play Lily, but I was also a second assistant director. So I was handling all of the talent throughout the entire 2 weeks that we were on that shoot. It was a great time. We all had a lot of fun. It was, I mean, pretty long days, got up early, went to sleep super late because we were staying up doing the call sheets super late. But it was a really great experience overall, I would say, on that set. We all had a lot of fun. We ate well. I'll never forget that catering. That was some good catering. But I just remember the fun moments of us just running around and like just trying to get everything done. I mean, that's independent. We're just like making sure we're staying on schedule and getting everything done. And, but there was so much fun within that that it just almost didn't feel like work. At least it didn't for me. Um, and there was a lot of great people on that set that I talk to still periodically that are good friends of mine. With Lily, she's a sassy little thing who doesn't really take crap from anybody. Um, and she had a boyfriend who just was not a good dude. Um, and I love the guy that played my boyfriend in the film. His name's Michael Taylor. He was amazing, and it was just such a fun experience being in that diner and just goofing around. That's pretty much what we did a lot of the times, unless we were in front of the camera. Obviously, we were doing our job and being serious, but it felt like we were just constantly being goofy with each other. So me and Beth, the other waitress in the film, it was just such a great time. But yeah, Lily's a sassy little thing. And although she may have stayed in the back while her boyfriend was coming to have a little chat with her, I feel like she could kick his butt for sure. For sure. Bring it
Uh,
on, buddy.
that's awesome. I mean, the thing is like when you're filming a movie, you know, I've never been on a movie, but I just hear the stories. Is like everyone, especially on the independent scene, everyone has this like togetherness. Like hey, I've known you forever. You're my sister. You're my brother. Stuff like that. So kind of being on that scene, is it like pretty much like that all the time, or is there like because I know I've heard stories. There's certain people that don't mesh too well.
I I look, I mean, it's without naming names, and this isn't about any percent, geez Louise. This isn't about any set in particular. So I'm saying this as a general. I have been on a couple different sets where I have been mistreated, where I have seen people be mistreated. I don't stand for that stuff personally at all. So I always speak up and either say something directly, or I make sure I take it to then the next person that is higher up in me, higher up to me. So while I was, for example, second AD, and I had to go and chit chat with my first AD just so he was looped in on everything. And also maybe he could handle the situation while I'm handling something else that has to get done in that moment. So it's all about the teamwork and figuring out ultimately the best solution to calm the situation, and or if you really need to, if it gets that bad, remove whoever you need to from the situation, from the set. And I've never had to have that experience where someone's had to be removed. It's like you have a conversation, a professional adult conversation, and then it's fine and we move on and we keep doing our work. I'm sure it's definitely happened though on some sets where somebody had to be let go because of their behavior or whatnot. But I cannot wrap my head around why it would get that bad. Um, no, again, nothing's ever perfect, so no set's going to be perfect. Sometimes things happen, but it's also again about being professional, knowing boundaries, and like just don't be disrespectful or inappropriate. It's that simple. But for some reason, some people don't grasp that. So that's where, like I said, within Hollywood and certain changes, I hope stuff like that changes, where a lot of that really gets knocked down and stopped and not let go. Because it shouldn't be. Nobody, whether they're male or female, should ever be dealing with any kind of behavior like that.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Uh, all right, so I really wanted to talk to you about this one because it's kind of loosely or maybe directly tied into one of the best franchises out there. I think you know where I'm going with this. The Jigsaw blogs.
Yes.
All right, just the name alone is like, yep, I'm sold. But you play Violet Anderson. Kind of walk us through that because now you're kind of tied to a franchise that's globally out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, kind of walk us through that and what the experience is, and just like through your eyes, though.
So Jacob Walton is the head, the creative of the Jigsaw blogs. He plays the character of Jacob in this project in this web series, and he is such an amazing person. I adore him so much. He has been trying to get so much done and really up everything within this web series. So first of all, I mean it's an honor to not only be a part of this web series that has passion and is different in its own way, but it is in a sense it bleeds out of the Saw franchise, and so that's really amazing to be a part of. Um, Jacob, he has to do some reshoots and whatnot, but he's also doing some more location scouting and everything because there was a tornado that hit in his hometown, which took one of the locations away, unfortunately.
Ooh.
But thankfully, everybody is safe and everybody is fine that lives in that area. So the newest episode that was supposed to come out this spring is delayed a little bit because he wanted to get some reshoots. And he actually messaged me about that, wanted to get my opinion about it. And I said, look, if you can have the time to find those locations, like new locations, do it. If you feel like you can work with the footage that you have now, do it. Whatever is ultimately going to be easiest at the end of the day and not going to stress you out, do it. Uh, I always say the less stress, the better. If you can work with what you have, do it. He always asks and admires my opinion, which means a lot to me because I'm just over here like I'm just me. But he always tries to include me in a lot. Always asks for my advice on the scripts, uh, the way the characters are going. Does this make sense? Does that make sense? Is there anything I should change? Do you like this? Do you like that? And like I said, I really it means a lot to me that he cares enough to have my opinion in that sense because it's his baby, it's his passion project. Um, and so originally too, I auditioned for the role of Corbett Denelin for that, and he ended up going with Cassandra, who's amazing. She's a sweetheart. And he was like, I really loved your audition. And so I want to bring you in as another character. that we're going to create together. And I was just like, oh, wow. Like for somebody to just automatically say, like, I can't pass you up, we're going to figure something out. I was like, wow, like that means a lot to an actor. Because roles can be few and far between. So no matter what project it is, or how small it is, or how big it is, that meant the world to me that he really wanted me to be a part of this, and again cares for my opinion in every angle that goes into it. Violet is a honestly, I, when I play Violet, she's a lot just like me. I'm playing me in a lot of senses, just a different name, and some tweaks here and there, of course, like we are, like any actor is with any character. Um, she's very secretive in a lot of senses, and she has her own plans, but are they good or are they bad? I don't know yet. I'm waiting for Jacob to let me know here. But but that's again what I love about this web series is I'm finding out new things about her every time I am preparing for, a new episode. Um, I feel like Violet is somebody that can be trusted, but there's moments where you're like, I don't know, can she be? And so that even has me as a viewer outside of it, even though I really don't like watching myself too much. I like to go back and be like, what could I have done differently as an actor? Not to like critique myself, but it's again, that's why actors even again continue going to acting classes and everything, because they want to continue learning and bettering their craft. And so every step of the way has been great on the Jigsaw blogs, and Jacob's amazing to work with. So I've been, again, for the millionth time, been very blessed in that sense when it comes to that project for sure.
Oh yeah. Uh, so we've come to the part of the show where I give you the floor so you can plug whatever you want to plug, upcoming projects, existing projects, your social medias, if you want people to reach out to you or not. That's entirely up to you. And just, whatever you want to plug, the next couple minutes is yours.
Oh, thank you, first of all. It was really nice chit chatting with you. I know I ramble sometimes, so thank you for listening to my rambling. Um, but I appreciate you for having me on the show, first of all. So if anybody wants to follow me on socials, I am Bryn Dami underscore on Instagram. BRYNDAMI_. If you want to follow updates for the Never Return movie, go and follow at Never Return Movie on Instagram as well. I do post pretty often on my personal Facebook as well. Feel free to friend me or send me a message. I'm pretty open to communication with anybody as long as you're not like inappropriate or like stepping over boundaries of like the normal stuff. But our Indiegogo for Never Return drops on April 20th, so stay tuned for all of that. We have some deals happening, and I'm working my best to stay on top of it all, so that way we can get this done in August of this year. And if we have to push again, it's because I want to do it properly and I want to make sure that everything is taken care of before we step foot on set on day one. I would rather have to push again instead of rushing to throw a film together, because this project does mean a lot to me. And at this point, I feel like it means a lot to my cast and crew, especially because they've stuck by me through all of the bumps in the road and all the craziness. And I couldn't ask for a better cast or crew. I'm very blessed in that sense and thankful. I do have some short film scripts in the works that I am gearing up to also film as soon as possible. I have a couple features that I'm finishing up as well. I'm just constantly on the move and ready to get back on set because that's where I'm happy, and I'm bringing my people along the way as we keep creating. So I can't be happier.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, one more thing before we get to the end of the show.
Absolutely.
What advice especially since you got into it kind of young, what advice would you give anybody who's trying to get into the industry in any way, shape, or form? And, like, just what path do you think they should take?
Well, it definitely depends on what path they would like to take. Um, I always recommend looking into internships, do one or two um, at most to start building your resume. Backstage and actors access are chef's kiss in this industry. So definitely look at backstage and actors access for acting roles. Backstage will show some more with crew roles, but actors access mainly focuses on the acting side of it. And with actors access, you also will see bigger opportunity like auditions for like bigger studio films and whatnot. Backstage can have them too, but you'll see a lot of it more independent crew, commercials, stuff like that. So both of those I would definitely recommend for sure. Um, Directing and writing, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, I always say creating your own work and working with what you have as best as you can. Just keep creating. Going to conventions, so Comic Cons are also, it's a really good way to network, meeting other filmmakers, going to film festivals. Um, it's very key in another way to network and meet other people to keep dipping your toes into the industry in different ways. Um, Also, another thing is accept the no's and keep moving. You will get no's before you get yeses. So take those no's with a grain of salt because one day you're going to get a yes and then the yeses will just keep coming. So keep your head down. Don't post everything all the time. Don't tell everybody everything you got going on all the time. I've lived it, I've done it. You get to a point where, again, I've mentioned earlier in the episode, don't only look out for your people, look out for yourself too. Advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself like you would your friends, your family, your cast, your crew. It's so, so important. Because that's where you come to a point where people will take advantage of you. I've been on again on sets where that's happened, where there's things that aren't okay. You have to speak up. Don't let anything stop you from speaking up. Don't freak out, but in a professional manner, say this has to stop. Um, it's those little things that I definitely would give advice for anybody that is attempting or is starting to get into the industry for sure. Take those no's and keep on running. Don't let that wall stop you. Keep breaking that wall down, baby.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you, Bryn, for coming on. You've been awesome. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and your journey. And I don't think the journey is going to end anytime soon, which is always a good thing, you
Heck
know.
yeah.
And you are more than welcome on this show anytime. I always tell everybody once you've been on NC-17, you have a home with us. So anytime you want to come on, whether to be to plug something, talk movies, or say, Josh, you got a booger in your nose, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you so, so much. That means a lot to me. And again, it was an honor. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Now, I will say this before we go. If you get
I'm
to a point
listening.
to where your Indiegogo is like booming and everything like that, and you want to give it that one last push, if you and the cast want to come on, feel free.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I will definitely 100% keep that in mind. Um, yeah, I look forward to working with all of them and I can't wait for you guys to meet all of them. You know some of their names and some of them are a little newer and so I'm telling you right now, every penny that is put into that Indiegogo and contributed towards this film is worth your while. Never Return is meant to be in theaters and on streaming and in festivals everywhere. This cast is going to blow you guys away. So if you can contribute, do it. If you can't, share it away. Support independent film. It's very, very important. And again, Josh, thank you for supporting independent film, having me and so many other independent creators on. It means the world to us. I just needed to say that on my behalf and even for them, because without you and a multitude of other podcasts that are willing to support us, it's already hard in a lot of senses. So it means a lot. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, you're most welcome. Everybody, make sure you follow her on all her socials. When the Indiegogo drops, make sure you definitely support all independent film. But most of all, everybody, stay NC-17.